Today, in the next 30 minutes, we're going to talk about the Asian market. Like everybody know, Asian is like in Asia, the economy is booming. The middle class is growing, like especially from China, from Singapore, from Taiwan, the property. And there is a lot of casinos being built over there. And used to be a lot of hardcore gambler that they like the table games. But in the recent year, we see a lot of like middle class people looking for entertainment values, that they're more enjoying into the electronic gamings, which usually slot machines. I will show you a lot of data like that. And also there will be data showing like in Macau, how they get from like only 1,000 slot machines when they first start the market like 10 years ago. Now they have like over 20,000 machines. And in Philippines, how they grow from pretty much zero all the way up to 20,000 machines added in the past 5 years. We will go through all this data later. And then at the last part of the sections, we will talk about Japan, which the government in the parliaments last year, at the end of last year, they just passed the law. They're going to build casinos. People are expecting they will build at least 10 casinos in Japan in the next like 10, 20 years. That would be something interesting, that we should look at what Japanese look like. I mean, not Japanese look like, I mean the Japanese market look like. Sorry about my English, very poor. But how the Japanese market look like today and what they may like, and then you can start thinking about what you would like to build and do in Japan in the very near future. All right? This is me, Raymond Chan. I have been spending my past 12 years building slot machines. I built my first slot machines in 2006, 2007, and when the Macau market started opening up, I sold my first like 100 machines to Macau in 2007, and then I spent another like 7, 8 years doing that. And 3 years ago, I started a company called TGG. Instead of building my own machines, now we build a ecosystem, a open platform that helping game developers and casino operators to connect with each other and building the games together through our GLI approved platform, which today is not available. It is a new concept that we are promoting right now. In the past 12 months, we worked very hard to get a lot of different game partners signed up onto our platforms right now. So we are now having partners from Canada, we have having partners from Europe, and a lot of partners from Asia that is building game for the Asian market. That is where we are today. Let's look at what we just talked about earlier, is the Asian gaming market, how big it is. You look at the data over here, you see 2010, only barely like 7 years ago, Asian Pacific gaming market is only 29.2% of the whole gaming revenues, which we're talking about 460 billion, and the game market is about, like mobile game market is about 49 billion, and the casino gaming market is about 460, so it's 10 times bigger. And Asia Pacific was about 30% of that. But as we said, the middle class has been growing, and a lot of new casino opened. 2 new casino opened in the past 10 years in Singapore, and another like 4 mega-sized casinos opened in Manila, Philippines. And there is Korea opening up a few more new casinos. Taiwan passed the law a few years ago, and they are still thinking about building a casino, and they just keep thinking about that. And Japan, as we mentioned, opening up. So in 2015, Asia Pacific already becoming a mega power in the whole global industry. It grew from 29% all the way up to 43% of the market right now. It actually bypassed America to becoming the most profitable gaming market in the world. Of course, when we talk about Asia gaming market, the first thing you will think about is Macau, the gaming powerhouse. You see, the number has been going up, not just the table games revenue, but also the number of slot machines has been like booming, because they have been opening up new casino, like every 2 months, 3 months you hear, oh, there's a new casino open up, and then there's a new casino adding more machines and more tables and things like that. If you look at the data, it's already six times the gaming revenue of Las Vegas already in a tiny little islands just next to Hong Kong with a population of only 400,000 people. They can have 6 times more gaming revenue than Macau. It's amazing. Next sections, we are going to talk about, okay, you talk about Macau, you talk about Asia. So what does people like over there in the casinos? And we're going to talk about that. If we have to talk about what is being welcomed in the market, this is the #1 game we should look at. We call Duo Fu Duo Cai. It is Chinese name. It's actually called like many fortune and many money. That's all, direct translations. Whatever that means. It actually brings the manufacturers a lot of money, not to the players, right? The design is very simple, as you see. It's all about the color and all about the game design itself. You see in the land-based casinos, the color itself plays a major part of that. Comparing to, like, I think most people here is more familiar with like online games. You look at this, it's like when you build online games, you have only one screen to look at, and you probably look at your sister or your girlfriend's screen, that's all. But in a casino, you will have like 2,000 machines and 2,000 screens, and they are competing for the time of your eyesight. So when you build games for land-based casinos, you shouldn't use the same theory and concept to build the games and using the color. You should have been thinking about that it will be like 2,000 other monitors beside the games and the noise surrounding it. You should keep that into consideration. You should use color that is like this Duo Fu Duo Cai, very bright color, golden color that the Chinese people like because they think it is the fortune. And then the red color, which actually do very well together. So this color. The other things to do is, I notice a lot of game developers, when they switch from online gaming to land-based, they like to put a lot of music on it. Because when you build a mobile game, music is important, right? Because you're alone at home watching TV, getting bored, and then there's a lot of music. But don't do that when you're building for the land-based products, because those music actually disturbing people because the casino environment already is very noisy. You don't need extra sound that becoming more noisy, right? So this has to be considered as well. Of course, it's all about the design and the RTP, like how you can put little tricks there. Because people can move from one machine to the other very easily. So you have to have a game design that should have some features that would bring people hopes and thought about that. Like I talked to an industry expert last night. She said, oh, the game that is successful, you should have a design that makes people think it is achievable. It is very important, actually. I totally agree with her on that. For example, in this Duo Fu Duo Cai, it actually gets a dilutions in the design. Every time the symbol in the middle, we call the fortune, came down, it will have some coins flying around and make you think that you will have a chance to win the jackpot, but it actually doesn't. It's a dilution, but it doesn't affect your RTP because the RTP is set, but it gives you that hope that you may get a chance, but you actually don't get a chance. You know, that kind of things. You have to think about getting on there. Another game that gets very popular now in Asia, not just Asia, but actually across the world, is this game called Lightning. One of the reasons that this game gets popular is like it has a progressive jackpot. That, you know, creating a progressive jackpot, I'm sure everybody know what it is. It's like 100 machines linked together and everybody paying for the jackpot, and then at the end it's not you winning the jackpot, but the guy next to you winning the jackpot, and then you get pissed, right? Of course, right? But this lightning jackpot, one of the very nice features that is not in the other jackpot system and get it popular, in my opinion, is you can actually look at, usually when you win a jackpot, you always win the mini jackpot or the mini jackpot. And then the other guy next to you win the jackpot that is bigger than you, right? In this jackpot system, they actually let you win 2 or even more jackpot at the same time. Okay? It gets so welcomed by the Chinese people. I'm a Chinese. Chinese people like what? Bargain. They think it's a bargain because I can win not just 1 jackpot, I can win 2 jackpot, and then they feel good about it. But they actually pay 2 times to win the jackpot. They didn't know about that part. So this is the design that you have to think, you know, to understand what your customer is thinking, right? They're looking for bargain. They know that they're not going to win big money in the slot machines. They probably know already. But they're looking for entertainments. They're looking for bargain. They're looking for a way that is achievable, that they can, you know, oh, I can maybe tomorrow I can win this. You know, you have to have some features, something that can make them keep coming back again and again. This is another major difference between like online slot games and the land-based slot games. Because online slot games, you just make another games. You have 2,000 games on their computer screen. Then they can play another game, another game, another game. But land-based casino is not like this. The maximum you can have, like in Venetian, Vegas, they have 5,000 machines only. So you have only 5,000 games. You cannot have more than that, right? So inside the game, it has to have more deep into the design instead of like having another game title every two or 3 weeks, okay? Any questions so far? Right? Seems like everybody understands what I'm talking about, just except myself. All right, let's go into the next topics. Japan. November 2016, the Japanese government surprised the whole world, passing the gambling law in the parliaments, in the last day of the parliaments. They have been talking about this law for the past 12 years since I built the first slot machines in 2006. They have been talking about opening up already, and never happens. But the Prime Minister name is Abe. Sounds like a sushi name, but he's a guy. And he actually pushed through in the last day of the parliament to pass the casino bill. The excuse that he has is to simulate the Japanese economies. So everybody got in surprise, and everybody trying to understand what that means, and everybody, a lot of like investment banker, and then the governments, the TV news, all focused into Japan since November last year. And there's one group of the people that get really, really concerned about this bill passed, is the pachinko industry. Some of you may not know pachinko industry, but what is pachinko about and what is the industry about? There is roughly about 12,000 pachinko hall in Japan. And we are talking about 4 million units of pachinko in Japan. If you talk about slot machines in the whole world, I mean, American itself, like Professor Daniel just said, there's about 800,000 of them, and the whole world is about 3.5 million. And Japan alone has 4 million pachinko machines. And the pachinko machines look like this. Very simple design. It's basically a metal ball just flying around, and then you hope that accidentally drop into the middle of nowhere. Then you will trigger a bonus round, which is a slot, pretty much a slot machines in the middle of screen, and then you hope that to win big. That is that kind of games that it is. It's like a slot games, but it's difficult. It's like just having a metal balls flying around. And you look at this number here, I just talked about. Japan alone, actually it's not even like 4 million, it's 4.5 million machines. This is like, wow, something is I think it's the only thing Japan has more than America in that sense. I mean, well, look at that. Pachinko, people spent 23.2 trillion yen in pachinko in 2006. What's that mean? It means, in this statistic, they spend more money in pachinko, playing pachinko, than spending the money in the food and beverage. 37% of their money spent in food and beverage, and 3% they spend on the games, but they spend more than that together in pachinko, to playing pachinko alone. And the number of employment in Japan in pachinko is more than the people they hire in the top 10 automobiles manufacturers in Japan. So Toyota, Honda, Mazda, all the manufacturers of automobiles that add together has less people working for them than in the pachinkos. So it's pretty crazy in industry in that sense. So when Japan opened up, people believe, I mean, this is from Bloomberg research, people believe it will worth $25 billion, which is another Macau, which is meaning 6 times revenues of Las Vegas alone. However, in the meantime, there is very limited Japanese product in the casino gaming market. There's only 3 companies that is making slot machines from Japan. One is Aruse, they call themselves Universal in Japan. Konami Gaming, which headquarters is in Las Vegas, which is different from the Konami that you may know, but this is Konami Gaming and other divisions. And Sega Sammy, they just started to make the machines about 1 or 2 years ago. So it's still very limited product. So there's a lot of Japanese company, especially from the pachinko industry, is trying to get into this and trying to see what is going on. This is what we find last year, a few months ago in Japan Gaming Congress, which we are talking to a lot of pachinko manufacturers, trying to get them, and this is part of our business, TGG, is to help them to get into the casino gaming market and things like that. It just showed you how big the casino gaming is. I mean, the land-based casino gaming is, because I know today a lot of people coming to this Casual Connect is from the online side, so I prepared this number to them to show you. There's about 7,000 casinos in the world, 3.5 million slot machines, and each slot machines, if you the casino pay the price that you can actually buy a Honda Civic, $16,000. That's the price, and a really fat profit margin. I can tell you, it only costs $4,000 to make a machines. Don't tell them that, okay? Casino winning worldwide in the last 2016. $450 billion casino winnings, and the slot machines revenue is roughly about 70% of that. In America, the daily slot machines, I mean the slot machine income that they make per day for casino is about $250. Emerging, when Asian, you have like 4,000, 5,000 machines times 350, I mean 250 times $365. No wonder the people in Macau are so rich, I mean the government. One more information, the Macau government charged 39% gaming tax. Yeah, so if you're a Macau citizens, you basically don't need to work because the government will pay you at least like $20,000 every year by doing nothing. Yeah.
You know, a lot of people lump kind of the Asian market into one big thing, right? And at least my experience when I went to Japan, my first time in a pachinko pachislo parlor was crazy. It was the noisiest thing I had ever been part of. People say that the Japanese markets, they're more about game, and Chinese markets are more about gambling. Do you see that products have to be very specific to specific countries, or are there some products that go across multiple Asian countries?
I think that the trend is changing. As I mentioned earlier, the middle class in China is growing. Those people are not that hardcore gambler anymore. When they come to Macau, or they actually, Chinese people don't, you shouldn't use Macau number as the indicator anymore, because Chinese government put a ban in how many times the people can go to Macau. So a lot of like real Chinese people who go travel and look for entertainment, they go to Philippines, they go to Singapore, they go to Cambodia to gamble, and Korea, of course. So, and in those markets, you actually see the trend that the slot machines income is actually over 50% already, especially in Philippines. So, so I would say the trend is changing. Of course, if you say in terms of numbers, it's still a lot of money in the table games, because the high roller is like betting like $1 million per hand on the background tables. So, but in terms of the number of players, actually, slot machines will be higher. And Japan, a lot of research are telling us that when Japan open up, definitely electronic gaming would be the trend, because the Japanese people are so used to electronic games already. I hope I answered your questions.
You did. And so, you know, when you talk about this new audience, do you think it's because they have exposure, that middle class, to a lot more entertainment games, mobile games, those sort of things, and that's why? Because before people were saying slots are not going to make money in the Chinese market, and so.
Well, it depends on which Chinese market you're talking about. The regulated Chinese market, of course not. But then if you go into China, you'll find out actually there's an unregulated part of that, which is in the mini store and things like this. And everybody is playing their own version of slot machines. There is a fish game that is getting very popular in China. And it makes billions of dollars. And then actually the one who create the machines get into jail because he created the machines for gambling. Yeah, so it depending on how you look at you look at the official data. Yes, you think Chinese people don't like to play electronic gamings. But if you look at the unofficial data, when you're actually over there, you see people are actually crazy about electronic gamings.
It's slightly different from your focus, but I'm wondering if there's any future on the social casino in the Chinese market versus play for real.
Social casino in China is pretty much impossible in the next 20 years, as long as the government still the same government that you're dealing with today. Because they put a really strict ban on, they don't even want to promote. I mean, you cannot even have a game that, that have like a slot machines look and feel on top of that. However, the Chinese company would work around and creating games that doesn't look like a slot machines, and becoming their own version of social casinos in China. So I think if you want to continue the success that you may have in American market or the other market in social casinos and bring it into China, you probably would have to think about how to convert the look and feel of the games in order to get in. Tencent is running the biggest social games now in China. They own like 70%, 80% of the market. And the most popular game always in the #1 and #2 is actually some casino games, in my opinion. It's like poker kind of things. Yeah, so, but they just have a different look. So if you want to get into China, you have to think about that. Like the fish game I talk about, sorry, I don't have an example over here, but you see the fish game is actually a slot machines. Yeah, it's just, yeah.
All right, well, thanks for a fantastic presentation. I really enjoyed it, so.
All right, thank you.